Hi, it's Lee from Colouring Queen, and I want to show you my new Derwent Chromaflow colouring pencils. Now, I've had these for a few months now, so this is an earlier video that I took of actually unboxing them. They're still all wrapped up in their lovely plastic film here, and I'm going to take them out and have a look at them. They come in a tin. You can get them in a number of different sizes. This is the 150 set, but you can also get them in 72, 48, 36 and 12. Now in this 150 set, there's 50 pencils per tray. And the plastic film's just there to protect them. The trays, like a lot of coloured pencils that come in a tray or in a box, they're pretty flimsy, but the tin is very sturdy. I've had mine for a few months now and I haven't managed to dent it, although I do have a couple of scratches on it. Now you can see that the colours are just beautiful, and one of the things that Derwent themselves say about this set of pencils is that they're known for their vibrancy, particularly with black paper. Derwent also compare them to Prismacolors, basically because there's 150 in the set, just like the Prismacolor Premier, and they're both wax-based pencils. Now, Derwent use the blue wool test, which is a light fast test on these pencils, and out of the 150 colours, most of them have a light fast rating, which I'll show you in a minute. Now, here's the pencil up close and personal with the Prismacolors in yellow, the Holbein in the mauve there, and the Polychromos in the brown. Now, the pencils are the same sort of length as these other popular brands, but the diameter of the pencil is a lot smaller, and that's because its core is 3.5mm up against the Prismacolor that is 3.8, so you're getting more colour in the Prismacolor. Now, the Prismacolor is the only one where you can actually see the core, so you can see if it's crooked or off-centered or anything like that. The others all have a colour cap on it. One thing I will say about the Chromaflow pencils that I find difficult is they have both the name and the number written on them, but the font with that gold lettering up against the black background is very difficult to read. But they all look pretty high quality pencils, except for the Prismacolor that does tend to look a little bit cheap up against its other little luxurious brands. And see the Prismacolor, you can see the core. With the others, you've all got a barrel cap on it, so you can't really see it. Now, like most pencils, that colour cap is just indicative of the colour because it's very hard to match a paint colour to a pigment colour. So I'm going to swatch them out so you can see how different these colours are. And obviously I've sped this up because otherwise we'll be here all day. But I'm going to do 3 layers on the left hand side, 2 layers in the middle, and basically 1 layer at the end so that you can see the graduation of how many layers you can put on just this normal copy paper that I'm swatching it out. One thing I have noticed, this is like the 3rd time I've swatched these pencils for various reasons. On another one of my swatches, I used Nina cardstock, and the colours actually look different because you need so many more layers depending on the type of paper. So with the Nina, because it's got some toothy to it, I needed far more layers than I do here with this just normal copy paper. Now with the pencils, out of 150 pencils, only 100 at the moment are available open stock. And you can see here that we've got a lot of, pinks and lilacs, violets, and they look really vibrant and very, very pretty. I will be testing them on colouring books as well, so normal KDP paper, because as I said, they tend to look different and behave differently depending on the type of paper. And as well as KDP, I'll be testing them on Johanna Basford's book, a Japanese book, and some black paper. Also be testing them out as normal to see how they work with a blender pen, erasing and sharpening. But they've got beautiful colours on here. There's lots of violets, a really dark violet, almost black there that you can see in the middle. And they're just really lovely colours. Now, this swatch chart, I based it on Derwent's own swatch chart where they had put colours into the order that they felt they belonged in. I don't know that I agree with that, but I've done the swatch chart, and if you want one, you can just download it from the link below for free. And if you just want to look at the colours, I've also scanned it, and there's a colour copy there as well if you would just want to look at that. But from my experience so far, the colours tend to look very different on different types of paper, depending on how many layers that you use. Now, they do go on really smoothly. The wax-based pencils, just very easy to use, in my opinion. And because they're part of the Derwent brand that have got quite a lot of coloured pencils, the pencils are all designed to work with one another. So you can use these pencils with others in the set, like Colour Soft, for example. Or, because they're both wax-based, you can use them also with your Prismacolors. I haven't tried that yet, and I'd be interested to see, how they perform together. And that's probably something I'll do in a completely separate video, just to satisfy my curiosity on how they work. But they do have lovely, vibrant colours. But there are some things that I've noticed that are kind of missing, and I'm glad that they work so well, apparently, with the others in the Derwent sets. Because I really don't feel like there's enough range for me in the reds. Like, it's nothing really sort of bright Santa Clausy red, unless you're blending a few colours together. And although there's a lot of colours that look kind of brownish, there's not as many browns as there are in other sets of my pencils. Although there are many that have that brownish look. When you look at the colour value of them, the tint and the black, they tend to just fall more into yellow oranges or red oranges and not sort of more of the neutrals. In my opinion, we all see colours differently. The other thing is that there aren't as many greys. Obviously, Prismacolor has a lot of greys. It's got the French greys, the warm greys, and the cool greys. But it's got quite a lot there in different colour values for each in that range of colours. Whereas this set of Derwent doesn't have that range of greys. Saying that, it's got many colours that, don't seem to be that familiar. There's a lot of blues. There's a lot of greens when we get to that one. So there's a lot of other colours that we might not have seen in other sets, or that they just look a little bit different. Whether that's enough to entice you to buy yet another set of colouring pencils, who knows. But they are vibrant, I'll give them that. Now, I initially struggled using these pencils. If you've seen any of my latest colouring chats or colouring stories, I've been using them in Emily Lighthall Oberg's book, Fairy Tales and Folklore. I'll put a link below. And I've got to be honest, I really just struggled. I don't know whether it's paper, because I find they work really well on some styles of paper, but in that book, I found it a bit of an uphill battle in the beginning. I just felt like either it's me, it's the paper, or I really was wondering why I purchased them at one stage. And I was thinking, oh my God, I've, wasted some money here, fallen for the fear of missing out. And I think it wasn't until basically finishing the page that I became comfortable with using them. And when we get new pencils, that's the thing. It's not just a matter of just scribbling them down. There always seems to be some sort of learning curve with them, even if they're wax-based or as opposed to oil-based, or there's something that you use the wax-based more often. Like, for example, I use Prismas more often than I use my polychromos ever. So you'd think that being wax-based, that'd be an easy learning curve and you just go down. But I found in Emily's book, I found them hard to blend compared to Prismacolors. And I found that they tended to get like little line marks on them. And it took me a long time to go even lighter with the layers to get the smooth blend. And to be honest, I don't think I even managed it on that page, to any great extent, because I just felt that they were just so different from using the Prismacolors, which I don't know if other people have that experience or not. Now, there are no neons in this set, and there's 4 metallics, so silver, gold, and a gorgeous ice blue and green. Okay, here we can see that they're all finished. We've got the 2 pages all coloured. Lots of yellows, happy with that, happy with the oranges, but I still feel that there's just not enough reds for my liking. Of course, there's plenty of blues and greens, and although these colours look brown, a lot of them are more of an orange-yellow or a red-orange, so I wouldn't mind a few more browns and greys. Now, I've got a selection of books here that I'm going to test out the pencils on. So we'll start with this Bold and Easy Cozy Buddies colouring book. Most people use alcohol markers in this, but we're going to be different and we're going to use the Derwent Chromaflow coloured pencils. So we'll get started just with the same colours that I'll use in all of these books so that we can have something to compare colour-wise. So I'm going to pick some yellows and oranges to colour in the little picture of, I think maybe the mushroom cap. So I've got 3 colours there. And I'm going to start with the flame. Just going down lightly. I haven't tried them in a KDP book, so this is new for me as well. The only book I've tried them is in Emily's book, and it was a struggle for me until I got used to it. Now I'm just going to add the yellow at the top there for a bit of highlighting, and on our first layer, I've got to say they go on really, really well. I'm using a soft pressure, but now I'm going to go on again and do a second layer and really try and close up that tooth. They actually go on really, really well on this toothy book, but you have to be prepared to do a number of layers. And I'm also increasing my pressure here because they can take an increased pressure. And what I've noticed is that so far they haven't had a wax bloom like many Prismacolors tend to when you're using the Prismacolors. So far so good on that. And so going over again with this yellow, and so far I think we're up to 3 layers. It can take more, honestly, if you wanted to put on more. I can't be bothered, but the 3 layers is enough, and I'm pretty impressed. And so as far as the KDP paper goes, I'm pretty happy with them, and I'd use them again. Now, there is a little bit of tooth that I haven't flattened down with this blending, but that's because I want to save it for demonstrating the blender pencil on it. So if I actually did another layer, I could flatten that down easily. Now, let's have a look at it a little bit closer, and you can see it turned out pretty well. Let's look at Johanna Basford's colouring book, and we'll just colour in this nameplate page, maybe a little bit of a flower. We're going to use the same colours again so that we can see how it looks on those different papers. And this is going on so smoothly and easily. It's far easier than in Emily's book that you can see a video of and far easier than the KDP paper. It's just gliding across the page, and not in a slippery, waxy way, just in a really easy on your hands, smooth way. And it's easy to blend the two colors together. There's no problems at all, but using a blender pen would remove, I think, some of these quick marks that I'm putting down, because I really am hurrying here, and this is not sped up. This is real time, just me being really fast. So the blender pen, I think, will take out some of the colors, but we'll add these colors in, and we'll see if it does do as I think it will do. The colors are going on really vibrant. You might not be able to see it in the lighting here, but they are very, very vibrant, and it does tend to take some more pressure. I'm putting on a lot more pressure here than I would normally colour with, and it's just going on without any problems or any wax bloom, and it's just a very smooth experience so far. If I wanted some easy colouring without hurting my arm or my wrist or anything like that, this would be a book that I'd be picking up to do that, because the blending, the colours, and just the smoothness of it all is really quite satisfying, and also the ability to be able to add more pressure. Now, if I'd put more pressure on in the beginning, I might not even need to do these extra layers, but it's good that the paper does take the extra layers. Johanna's paper is usually pretty smooth, and it's not really toothy, so you don't really need to do that many layers if you don't want to. There's no wax bloom build up, and everything's going pretty good, and I'm still able to add more colours without any sort of bloom happening there at all. So we'll just see how it finishes up. I'm going to add a little bit more, because why not? And smoothing it out just with the second colour, which is the way I smooth things out. And then we've left a little bit of gaps there that the blender pen will hopefully, or the blender pencil will hopefully take out. Now let's try Eriy's book. Now, the paper on this is so toothy. It is far toothier than the KDP paper, and just doing one layer, I have to put way more pressure on over here than I normally would, just to try and flatten out that paper. So it takes a lot of layers or a lot of harder pressure to flatten down the tooth, but we're getting there. And the great thing is, if you want to do a picture with a lot of layers, that book is great for that. Let's try it on the black paper. Derwent themselves say that it's meant to be really vibrant and look great on black paper. Now, I've got my little Spectrum Noir book here that I've used with other pencils over the years, and I've got to say, just even looking at it right now up against other pencils that I can see there, it's not as bright, and it's kind of a bit disappointing. Let's try the Caran d'Ache blender pencil. It's my favourite blender pencil. We'll try it in the KDP book, and it is just pushing down the tooth on that little mushroom. He's just going right down, and it'll be interesting to see if after we've used the blender pencil, if we can add more colour. So we'll give it a bit more, and yes, there's not so much wax build up that you can't add more colour after even blending it out, and go back and use your blender pencil again. So that's pretty good. Let's have a look. Very smooth now. I don't know that I'd do a whole one of those bold and easies in pencils. Now, in the Johanna Basford colouring book, the blender pencil is just gliding on. It's super smooth. It's just really taking out any of those fine lines that I couldn't be bothered blending, and just smoothing them all out. and giving it an overall more finished look. And it will be interesting to see if we can add more color after using the blender pencil. So I'll go back in here and you can immediately see you can add more color and it's just as vibrant. So another great result with the Caran d'Ache blender pencil. Let's try it on the black paper, on Eriy's colouring book. Now there is a lot of tooth to this, and realistically you could add more layers in this book, but let's not, and let's just use a blender pencil to blend it out instead. It's going on super smoothly. I do have to work and apply a bit more pressure, but it is flattening down the tooth and blending all of that colour and flattening down the tooth and ensuring I don't have to do 500 layers to flatten it down. I'm only joking. Let's see if we can add a little bit more colour to that by just going around here and giving it another little quick once over. And yes, we can go on, we can add more. So beautiful. And it's a great book if you do want to do a lot of layers with these Chromaflows. Let's try it on the black paper. Now, to me, it's not as vibrant as I thought it was going to be. Now, that may be the pad, or it just may not be as vibrant as I think some of my others are. But using the blender pencil actually seems to take off some of the colour rather than blend it. So I'm going to try my little mono white eraser from Tombow and my sand eraser. It does take off the colour very easily. The sand one taking it off a lot easier than the other. The sand one is my favourite for using with like intense pencils or anything that's like super difficult to get off, like alcohol markers if you've just got a little bit that you need taking off. In the Eriy book, the white mono eraser is erasing it very nicely. And the sand eraser, we're getting a good line there. So the sand is really good if you want to do like little fine or tricky little areas and get a little bit more detail with it. And you can buy like a little erasing guide too to help you stay where you want. Now in Johanna's book, we can do a lot of little dabs here. And sorry that's shaking the camera up, but we can take that colour off quite nicely. And using the sand eraser, again, very easy to take that colour off. Now let's see how it is in the KDP book. You take off a few little dabs here. Yep, and it's coming off quite nicely. And that'd be good if you want to add highlights as well. And using the sand eraser just a few times, we can get a nice clean line there if we want to take off and make a highlight, for instance, or if we've coloured too much. Using my R Pencil Sharpener, which is my favourite, you can see that it sharpens really easy. We don't get a continuous curl, but we do get a nice fine point. So overall, they're great pencils. They've got a lot of beautiful colours. They're wax-based. So the pros on them are their vibrant colours, the fact that they go with all the other Derwent pencils in the range, wax-based. You can use them with your Prismacolors. There's open stock for at least 100 of your pencils. Nothing annoys me more than not having a spare pencil or open stock. The cons, they take a bit of getting used to, like all pencils do. I did find the learning curve a bit harder with these ones. I think some of the colours, depending on what sort of colouring you like to do, I think there could be, more reds, as I've said before, and browns and greys. But it depends what you like to colour and if you like to mix. And the other cons, of course, would be the price. They're not the cheapest of pencils, but they're on sale when I purchased them. So just keep your eye out. But the vibrant colours are really lovely and they do go well on a lot of books. You can add a lot of layers and There wasn't any wax bloom in any of my experiments. That's not to say that might never happen, but there certainly wasn't in any of my experiments that I've done. They're also very easy to hold because they're a smaller diameter. They're actually easy to hold in your hand and you don't get as much pain. So that's it from me. Until next time, stay safe and happy colouring.